I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Kim Castro, and this is your tropical update. We are talking about 4 Atlantic waves. One specifically, we're taking a close look at as it could bring us a much needed rain relief by Tuesday. And then, of course, Hurricane Hilary making national headlines for the impacts it's expected to have to Southern California. It is Saturday, August 19th. Let's get started. All right, here are the areas that we are watching in the Atlantic. This spot here with a 30% chance of development is going to move into unfavorable conditions for development, so I'm not too concerned about that one. This area close to the Lesser Antilles, there are 40% chance of development over the next 7 days. And then this area several hundred miles east of the Lesser Antilles, 70% chance of development. It does have the potential to move into favorable conditions, and so we'll keep tabs on that in the long term. But in the short term, this is going to be the talk of the town. This cluster of storms there north of Cuba expected to come into the Gulf later on this weekend, a 50% chance of development early next week. In the western Gulf, you'll notice we are in the periphery of where this development region could be, and this could bring us much needed beneficial moisture, some rain after a long stretch of triple-digit heat. But let me show you what the models have in mind with this system. This is the European in red and the American GFS in yellow. Both want to have development close off this low on Tuesday, very, very close to interaction with land. So this is not going to have a whole lot of time to develop into much of anything before it gets interrupted. And so for that reason, if it becomes tropical in nature, it's only expected to become a tropical depression. Now, another thing to note, both of the models want to put it for the North Mexico coastline or the southernmost tip of the Lone Star State. So the majority of the moisture would be focused in the Brownsville, South Padre region. Now, Houston could still get some spin-off moisture, but the potential is going to be limited and the window of time is going to be short. So this is really looking like a Tuesday event for the most part. So let's run the clock and show models and where the moisture wants to really focus. And you'll notice, again, it is very much in consensus with the European, with the American, pushing the majority of those deeper greens, the concentrated showers and thunder showers a little bit further south along the coastline. Now, a closer look at the viewing area here in southeast Texas, the better rain chances are going to be along the I-10 corridor and racing towards the coast. And you'll notice reflectivity is not a whole lot to write home about. In fact, rain chances are going to be on the smaller side. I want to manage expectations, and accumulation is going to be on the smaller side of the scale too. So I'm thinking for the most part, the areas that do get the rain are only going to pick up about half an inch, maybe a couple areas getting closer to an inch of rain. Any is going to be beneficial. We've had extreme drought conditions now, and we've had this triple-digit stretch that could break records. You'll notice the more impactful rainfall totals for South Texas, Corpus Christi down to Brownsville, a couple of bullseye areas could get 2.5 inches of rainfall. But the big rain-making system takes us all the way to Southern California. The potential rain for this area, there's a big range. So between about, I'd say 4 to 10 inches, maybe in excess of that. This is going to be a really delicate situation to watch, and I'll show you why here in a moment. Let's talk about Hilary right now. It's churning at around 125 miles an hour, still making it a major Category 3 hurricane. It has lost a little bit of its steam, and the reason for that, it is picking up some cooler water, and here very shortly it's going to start interacting with land masses, but it has got a lot of potency as it's headed towards Baja. So it is expected to slam Baja as a Category 1 hurricane by Sunday morning. The Guerrero Negro area is going to get that direct hit there, and because it is moving north in this direction, packing 80-mile-an-hour winds, we have to factor in its speed as well. So it's not a direct math. You don't just add the 80 to the 16, but it's close to that. So this area could potentially get some wind speeds at around 90 to 96 miles an hour, in addition to, of course, the torrential downpours. And then as we move over the next few days and hours, we'll continue to see the impact that it's going to have as it heads towards California. So San Diego, Los Angeles area now under a tropical storm warning. So yesterday they were under a tropical storm watch. Now it's a warning. These conditions are expected, and they're expected imminently. So by tomorrow evening, 60-mile-an-hour winds. And what's going to be of more concern is going to be the rainfall. I showed you how much they're expecting. Now have a look at what's average. Annual rainfall for the Los Angeles area is just barely over 12 inches. They're expecting anywhere between 4 to 10. Now on the lower end, that will be those inland cities. 10 inches of rain looks to be for the mountain communities. This is important because gravity will take that rain racing down, and that leads to the extreme hazard that is flash flooding and mudslides. We all know California to have a lot of burn scar area for wildfires, and so a lot of this rain that hits that terrain does not percolate. It does not enter the ground. It just slides right off and races down. So this is going to be a dangerous situation that a lot of Californians are not used to. In fact, it has been 84 years since a tropical storm slammed this area. The last one was in 1939. It was Hurricane El Cordonazo. It came to the Los Angeles area, Long Beach specifically, as a tropical storm. And it dropped down just under 6 inches of rainfall, had 65-mile-an-hour winds, and it had a lot of devastating impacts, fatalities. 45 died from flooding, inland flooding, and then 48 died at sea. Of course, warning systems, forecast models, all of that has improved tremendously in the last 84 years, but a lot more people live in these areas, and this is, again, something that folks aren't privy to. They're not used to this type of rain in the short amount of time. And so 1939, think about that. Unless you are 94 and maybe you were 10 when this happened, you might remember it. This is going to be a first time for a lot of people. This is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime event, something we'll be watching here very closely on KHOU. Here are my social media handles. I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I will be keeping a close eye on both coasts throughout the weekend and definitely keeping you updated on the rain chances here in the Lone Star State. For now, have a good and safe weekend.